Hey everybody, it's Jason and welcome back to my channel. So today we've got kind of an old friend here. This is my friend Tim's 1981 CB900 Custom. You might recall about 2 years ago I rebuilt the carbs. So Tim tried to start it this spring and it started and it ran, but it didn't run very well. And he called me over and I took a quick look at it and it seemed to be getting gas. It was kind of running. It didn't really want to start, but it didn't sound like it was firing on all cylinders. So I said, you know what, let's just take it back to my place. We'll put it up in the lift and we'll take a look. And since then, I have taken off all the float bowls, taken a look at them. They are spotless. It's a brand new fresh tank of gas just a couple of days ago. I'm pretty sure it's getting fuel. So I pulled one of the plugs and I checked it for spark, and it was pretty weak. Almost non-existent, and it seemed to kind of peter out after a little bit of cranking. So I'm pretty suspicious that maybe one of the coils is weak or has gone. Let's give it a crank. Okay, this is the left coil, so that is cylinders 1 and 4, the outside 2 cylinders. I realized in editing that the spark actually looks pretty good here, but in real life it was really faint, like nowhere near what it should be, and it was also fairly inconsistent. It definitely wasn't as regular as it should be. Okay, the right side coil runs cylinders 2 and 3, which are the middle 2 cylinders, and when I checked it out, I was hard pressed to find any spark at all, to be honest with you. There are a few other things that it could be. You know, the bike is 45 years old, and maybe some of the connections have corroded, or, just about anything can happen to these things. I see it's not the original coil. It's already been replaced once, and of course, I have no idea if that is the correct coil for the bike or how old it is, or honestly, I don't know how long this bike sat. So let's just check everything out and see what it looks like. Okay, before we do anything too crazy, let's get a reading off the battery. It's a brand new battery. I had it on the tender all night, and it's reading 1284, yeah, 1280. Let's see. Leave the negative probe on the battery. We're gonna disconnect the coil. Now this black wire with a white stripe is the power coming from the battery to the coil. Let's turn that on. And what do we have there? 11.7. So we lost a volt, which is kind of interesting. Let's just check the switch off. And trace voltage, that's interesting too. And yeah, that's off too. So it appears that the switch is working. Kind of curious, we're missing a volt there, but there are a couple of things sort of in between the battery and the coil, obviously, that could be responsible for that. So let's just keep probing and see what we find. So there's voltage getting up there. To check the resistances, it is kind of tight, to tell you the truth. I'm not gonna be able to get probes in there very easily. So I guess I will maybe have to take them out and bench test them. That's no big deal. Battery is disconnected, so no chance of stupidity here. Yep. Let's take a look here and see what we got. So coil, the first thing I notice, I mean, it's not terrible, but these contacts are, they're shiny, but they're rusty too. Same with these ones. So let's take some meter readings here and see what we find out. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is check the meter. Okay. Functioning properly. Check the primary, so across from there to there, giving me 3.5
4, which sounds about right. Maybe just a touch high, but not really. I think these are 3 ohm coils, so there you go, 3.4. Now we'll check the secondary coils, and to do that, we've got to touch these two. Now this is going to be a big amount, so 20K. It has 11,500, which honestly sounds kind of about right. You know, they're usually pretty high. Yeah, that's not outrageous. So, I've got this Dynacoil just to give you another little demonstration. I know that this coil is good. So this Dynatech is a 1.5 ohm coil. So across the primary should be more or less 1.5. 1.7, 1.8. Pretty darn close. Now across the secondary, so again, let's put on 20K again. It is, look at that, about 13K. So I know that the numbers aren't the same. What I'm trying to get at here is I know that this coil is good, and those are what the readings are. And I just checked this coil, and actually the readings aren't so much different, keeping in mind that it's a slightly larger coil, 3 ohm. So I'm kind of leaning towards this coil being okay. Now the one thing I am noticing here is it is corroded. These are not happy looking connections in my humble opinion. So that might be part of it. The other thing I want to do just before I go too crazy is I want to put the wires onto it and then check the resistance between the wires and see if the wires are adding a lot of resistance.
Okay, it's important to note here that taking the resistance of coils to determine if they're good or not is a very suspicious process. More than anything, you're looking for an open situation where clearly there's a connection lost. But just because the numbers look okay does not mean that the coil's okay. I've read many coils that seemed okay but were completely garbage. So keep that in mind, okay?
Okay, so with the wires on, the resistance is 29 kilo ohms. So that's quite a bit more. How much more is that? It's 15. Quite a bit more. Now there's going to be resistance in the wires and sometimes built into the caps too. So it's not surprising that it's more, and I just don't think that that is that much more that I should be worried about it. So I'm going back. I'm going to go back to the connections here, you know. Ground. Although that looks like it was making a connection. Now these aren't the tightest fitting ends I've ever dealt with either. How they look inside. Just gonna stick this little screwdriver in. Just give those a little tweak on the edges so it maybe grips a little harder. Let's put that one on. That's definitely more confident feeling. It doesn't look like it's corroded in there. Just wonder if they're just loose. I don't know, just chasing things here. Let's see what comes of it. First thing you always want to rule out is bad connections, right? Because you put a brand new coil in and then end up with the same problem. What we got here? 29.5. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Let's check. You gotta outthink these things, you know? So let's just check one wire at a time. So there's that. Okay, that wire reads 20.2. Okay. And this wire reads 21. Now, you know what? Let's just check. So this one here's got a slightly higher resistance than that one. And it is slightly longer. So, you know, we're just playing the logic game here, okay? Logically, everything seems to be all right here so far. All right, I'm gonna give this coil a little cleanup. I'm gonna take all of these terminals off and just give them a little cleanup and put it all back together again, just because. And clean up the grounds. Give these a little clean up here too. And maybe we'll put it back on the bike and see what happens. Just for the sake of testing, I slipped in that Coil, which came off my BMW. I know it's a different rating. It's only a 1.5 ohm, but it'll be good enough for testing purposes. So I've got it in place. And I'll flip on. Oh yeah, that's a nice bright spark. Here, I'll show you a little closer. Ready? Okay, I need you to trust me here. The video doesn't show it, but that is a very nice, bright blue spark. Much better than what I had before. Okay, so I'm pretty certain it's the coils now. So I'll order up a set, get another set of plugs, might as well, wires, all that kind of thing. And that'll probably be a few days, and we'll move on to something else. So while I'm waiting for those coils to come in, I think, judging by what I've seen up in the headlight, I think it's probably not a bad idea to clean out all the contacts. You know, so many problems in these older bikes. This bike is what, like 45 years old. So many problems come just from bad contacts. You know, resistance builds up and sometimes it's kind of sketchy. So I'm going to take out, these are all the ignition plugs in here. I'm going to take them all out and I'll show you how I clean them. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of work in the electrical area, so I always disconnect the ground side of the battery just to be safe. Don't. Pull this out now. So there they are, and you can see they're corroded. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not great, you know. It only takes a minute to give them a clean up. What I'm going to do is soak each of these connectors in some washing vinegar. I'm just using one of my little YouTube clamps here to hold the container. It's just one of those little applesauce containers. I'm going to use washing vinegar, which is 10%, and it does a really nice job. Leave them in there for, I don't know, a couple minutes, 5 minutes. Do each of them. If I can get 2 in one now, that's even better. A little bit of baking soda just to neutralize any vinegar. I don't, once again, know that I really have to do this, but I feel better about it. See, look at those. Look how shiny they are now, eh? I know it's hard to see, but they're much, much better. Let's take a look at these. I didn't show you the other ones very well before. See Oh, these are kind of dull and corroded, you know. Let's dunk them. There we go. And leave them in there for a couple minutes. Baking soda. Baking soda. Okay, I've got everything buttoned up now. You didn't need to see it. I've got fat fingers and it was kind of ugly. But it's in there and it's good. So I took an air hose, blew out the connectors, made sure they were nice and dry. Then I took some brake cleaner, sprayed them all out. And I don't know, everything should be good. I mean, it's not part of the problem, but it's certainly not going to hurt anything to have those nice and clean. It's a few days later now and most of the parts have come in. Two nice brand new coils. I talked Tim into going to a premium brand, Rick's Electrosport. So I've used this stuff in different bikes and it's always performed extremely well, no affiliation. I think there seems to be just excellent products. So they came, the two coils came with wires. I was rather disappointed though. For some reason I thought they came with the plug boots, but they don't. So I've got this set. Now this is an old set off of my CB900. So I will just use these to test everything and I'll get a nice set in for them. But they'll do for now. And I also picked up some new plugs. So the plugs that are in it right now, DR9EA, is what is recommended in the States, in a warmer climate. If you look in the manual, and I'll show you, it recommends these DR8ES. Now I had to get the L's, which is a half a heat range higher. So DR8, the 8 means it's one heat range higher than the 9, and the L means it's a half. ES is it has to do with the tip, the end. EA and ES. I don't really know what the difference is. It's not really anything I'm too worried about. But for Canada, those are the ones that are recommended. So that's what I'm going to use. And of course, while I've got it up on the rack, we're going to do an oil change. So I've got the Honda oil filter. I always use Honda oil filters. Top notch. You can never complain with them. So those are the parts we're about to put on, and hopefully they are going to make a difference. Okay, so just in the interests of being thorough, like to check this ground. See, it's not bad, but it's not great. You know, just because a bike sits doesn't mean nothing happens to it. You know, there's a lot of corrosion, a lot of stuff going on here. So we got to make sure it gets taken care of. It only takes a second, and honestly, most problems probably occur because of bad connections. All back together, it's nice and shiny. All right, so that's good. Okay, after all that, let's see what we got going here. That's a lot better. Okay, so once again, the video lets us down just a little bit. This is a very strong blue spark, which is exactly what we want. So much, much better than what we had earlier with those old coils. Okay, got everything hooked back up for now. So I left the spark plug wires long just until I get the new plugs or the new boots for them, and then I'll cut them all nice and to length. But for now, for testing, it'll be okay. So this coil here goes to 1 and 4, the outside 2 cylinders. That's the way it was before, it's the way it is now. This coil over here goes to 2 and 3, the inside 2 cylinders. Now, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter which coil goes to which because it's a wasted spark system, but just the same, and you want to get it right. So I checked it all, got the manual, all good, ready to go. So I just have to put the gas tank back on so it's got a little bit of fuel, and we'll give it a shot. We've got new coils. We've got new wires. All our connections have been cleaned. Everything's pretty much taken care of. I'm pretty sure this is going to make a big difference because those sparks were so nice and blue. Anyway, let's give her a shot here. See what's going on. Fresh gas. Probably take it a second or two to cycle some gas. Hey!
Well, there you go. What a night and day difference, huh? That's pretty much all I've got for you this week. You know, that was kind of an interesting little project. Hopefully you followed along with the logic. A lot of that was just done so you could understand what I go through or what the thinking is in fixing this stuff. As always, if you like this kind of stuff, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and watch some more of my videos. Until then, I want to thank you very much for watching.